The following is a presentation of TFNN. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Namaste and welcome to Mindful Living, everybody. It's Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien, and it is our mission on this show to share health and wellness tips to help you get healthy every day, feel good, and live life to the fullest. So thank you for being with us today. And Tom, I would say you and I have that goal in our own lives, to live life to the fullest every day.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, I know.
There's no doubt.
You attack it. You attack it. I love how you close your show, the show before this, and you say, remember, folks, whatever you can believe, you can achieve.
You bring about, right?
Yeah, whatever you think about, you bring about.
It's real.
Believe me, I so believe it.
Right.
And I try and practice it, you know.
Right.
I think it's a good reminder we're all human, and I love that you remind listeners every day, what you think about, you bring about, and what you focus on grows.
You know what's interesting, folks, and Ellie, is that I don't think anyone knows how it works, in general, okay? But you know what works on a consistent basis over your life. Mm-hmm. And we're much more powerful than we realize. And it's right in front of us. It is right in front of us. And, you know, when you do focus and say, okay, this is what I'd like, in a clean way, and you know, with good energy,
right?
It just happens.
Yeah.
Somehow it happens. So it's like, you know, we're all so powerful, and we're all one. It's one type of energy, but it's there.
It is.
You know, it's really there.
And I love how you said when you're focused, because that's what the show is all about. It's focusing on that it's going to be productive in our life, and that is going to aid our healing in our life, as opposed to focusing on that which you don't really want in your life, which unfortunately is what so many of us do a lot of the time. And it's causing a lot of stress in our society. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I feel like every time I turn around, there is a new study on how Americans are the most stressed out society. And, you know, we're working the hardest and the longest, and we're living to work, and we're the unhealthiest, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it'd be really interesting to have this conversation today and just ask why. Why are Americans so stressed out? And what can we do about it? And I would love for our listeners to get in on this conversation. So if you have a comment, if you're feeling stressed, or have an idea why 77% of Americans are claiming that they are stressed out today and feeling symptoms of stress physically, which means
77%. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Then I want you to call, and our number is 877-927-6648. So give us a call and get in on this conversation.
So listen to this, folks. This is a trip. Allie sends me over an email earlier what the program's going to be about, right? so picture, and I go on streaks. That's kind of how I know my own deal, basically. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I go on streaks, and when I go on streaks, what ends up happening is that, you know, like financially, I do these ABC structures on the way up and the way down. Uh-huh. So the way that works, technically and mathematically, if you're taking out a B point, it takes a lot of energy to take it out, so you really get revved up, right? Well, what ends up happening is that, you know, that eclipse the other night, right?
Yes.
It changed my whole deal, right?
Oh,
I get up at
wow.
4:30 in the morning. I'm really going at it. So I decide, okay, man, I am really going to crank it out. But bottom line is that when you're really cranking it out like that, right, stress level goes up without even. I don't call it stress, but then I know when I get too intense.
Yeah.
I get way too intense.
But you know, it's interesting. It's so interesting you mention this, because, you know, there is a healthy amount of stress that scientists say, because that's the thing, you know, you don't want to lump all stress into negative. You don't want to say it's never a good thing. Right. Remember that stress is there for a reason, and when we're in a situation where we need a boost of energy, the stress response mechanism in the body gives us that energy. So,
yes.
You know, a lot of scientists say for people who are working on projects or need a little boost of energy to get through something,
yes.
a little stress can actually be healthy.
Right.
So maybe, You know, if that's what you're feeling.
No, it was cool, okay? Because I can back off, too, but this would end up happening. So picture this. You know, and I'm feeling great because I'm getting a huge amount done.
Right.
When I get in here at 6 o'clock in the morning and start, you know, I can get a huge amount done. But in between getting a huge amount done, sometimes what ends up happening, you get too abrupt. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can, you know, get that way.
I
okay,
can relate to that.
Not on purpose.
Sure.
Okay, but it's just always to the point.
Yeah.
So
that's a nice way to say it.
So this is what ends up happening. Listen, this is wicked. So what ends up happening is that I had some guys at my house and they're putting up an awning, right? Today, right? So I'm going for 2 days straight, and I says, okay. I said I got to go back. I want to check that out, right? So what ends up happening is that I'm coming in, and they got these big pieces of steel on my front lawn. I'm looking at them like, what are you doing? Right? So I get out of the car. And, you know, what are you doing?
Right.
Oh, you know, and they weren't doing anything. The bottom line is that I had to come back down, and I did.
Right, you were in that go mode, that stress mode, that
yeah.
fight or flight. You were more like gearing toward the fight mode.
Yeah.
But it's all the same.
Bridget brought me back down. The good news is, no, I'm not kidding. But it took me actually about. It took me about a good 45 minutes, and then I finally came back and I said, "Oh, thank God!"
Yeah.
Because with folks, you don't want to get and you don't need both, but. I cracked up when this was coming across because you certainly don't want stress that's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And life is to be lived. You know what I mean?
It is to be lived. And that's unfortunately kind of where a lot of us are persisting, and that is in that chronic stress mode. You know, as we said, a little stress can actually be healthy. One, it is hardwired in our brain to help us survive, the fight or flight response.
Right.
And, you know, when you get in a situation that makes you feel unsafe or, you know, a heightened awareness, then the brain releases endorphins, and not just endorphins, but hormones through the body, and literally increases your blood sugar and increases your blood pressure so that you can prepare to flee, run, or prepare to fight. So, as we said, you know, that response happens regardless of the stimulus. So if it's a tiger chasing you, fine, you're going to need that. And I guess you kind of are a tiger, right?
Yeah.
You might need that if Tom's chasing you. But if it's just you're worrying over work or, you know, other stimulus in your life, the same response is initiated. And as you said, if it lasts too long, becomes chronic, then your body gets worn out and you actually suffer some damage.
Right.
So the statistic is that if you are remaining in a state of stress, a chronic state,
yes,
you are up to 50 times more vulnerable to heart attack than anyone else. And if you look at it, I mean, heart disease is the #1 killer in America, and a lot of that is, of course, contributed by not only our diet, what we're eating, but hypertension. And hypertension, you got to think, where's this stress coming from? Who's putting us under this tension?
And you're putting yourself under stress, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly.
No. And this, you know, when you look at it, and that's even this afternoon, I say to myself, okay, what am I doing? You know, it's not the end of the world. It's not like I'm, you know, got to do all this thing today. But there's a balance there. There's no doubt.
And, you know, the fact that you became aware of it is huge. That's a big step, which we're going to talk about later, folks. I've got 5 helpful tips that I'm going to share with you toward the end of the show about, you know, how to fight stress, how to manage stress in your life. And, Tom, you nailed it. One of the ways is to become aware. You know, a lot of people just aren't even aware that they're running around in this crazed state, angry, upset, bitter, nervous.
About nothing.
What's happening
about
where? Yeah.
It's about thinking about either yesterday or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not or the next minute, folks. Because even I realize that, you know, we've talked about this before. You can realize it, but you got to be here.
That's right.
And as soon as you're here and now, everything is great.
Everything changes.
Everything is great. Because it's like, how can it not be?
Right.
You know?
Instead, most of us were in our mind, racing about the things that are causing us pain.
Yeah. That you know, it's like opening that door. You know, you get a problem, folks, you open the door, the problem's never as big as you think it is.
Right.
It never is.
Right.
You know?
Face it.
It just isn't.
Well, it's interesting. You know, this is a real issue. It's a real problem here. The Benson Henry Institute says that stress accounts for 60 to 90% of all doctors' visits. And we've talked about that before. If you think about that, I mean, that's over half, at least over half, and up to all but, you know, 10%. So like 90% of doctors' visits because of stress. That just seems crazy. It's hard.
Crazy.
It's really hard to digest that.
Right.
So that's costing us tons of money in healthcare. And in fact, it's costing companies, which is, I'm sure, very interesting to most of your listeners on your show.
Sure.
over 300 billion a year.
300
billion a year in absenteeism, turnover, and low productivity. So, and that's because of stress, you know. So people are...
But you're doing something about it.
I am.
No,
I'm trying.
Allie has a new business, folks. It's called MindWise,
It's
right?
It's called MindWise. Yeah.
MindWise.
Yeah, the idea is that, you know, as Tom and I said, if you look at, it's based on mindfulness practices and my history in yoga meditation. Really, so much of our stress is caused by what's happening in our mind, how we're thinking about things, our perceptions about things.
I know. Perception's a trip.
Yeah, and you can't always change the situation, but you can change, you know, the way you perceive it or the way you react to it, which we're going to talk about more and how to do that, give some people some real tips to help. And so it's becoming, you know, it's learning how to use your mind more effectively, more efficiently to manage not only stress, but life in general. And so we call the company MindWise. I have a beautiful partner who is an avid and longtime yoga meditation practitioner herself. And we both have a lot of history in corporate. So, you know, I started my career before yoga meditation in software sales and marketing. And so I worked for IBM. And
Big Blue.
Yeah, Big Blue. Great.
Big Blue's down $8. They didn't make their numbers. Thank God you've gone out of there.
Bummer. Yeah, but I still got some stock there.
Oh.
So. Had an awesome retirement plan.
Oh, my God. I love it. I love it.
So that's, you know, unhappy news. But I'm not going to let it affect my happiness because I know it will change.
I love it. I love it.
So, but yeah, you know, when I was in that career, it was fast-paced.
Right.
Had a ton of responsibility in managing multi-million-dollar budgets and a team of people, you know, whose responsibility it was for me to take care of them and to help them be happy in their jobs and productive and effective. And you know how that is. It's a lot
intense.
Of weight to carry.
And you have to make your numbers.
Exactly, and you have to report to your boss. So, you know, I always said if I had the tools that I have now learned through mindfulness practices, I may never have left that job. You know, I believe everything happens for a reason, but I know I was a stress mess when I had that career. Right. And so after teaching yoga meditation for almost 13 years, you know, I said to a friend of mine who is the CEO of a bank, and I said, look, it's my dream to bring these tools, these healing tools, full circle back to the corporate world, because I know that employees at all levels, whether you're looking at top executives, management level, you know, all the way throughout the corporation, could benefit from these techniques. And that friend of mine, you know, was also a meditation practitioner and said, let's do it. So he was my first client. And so we're off, and it's going really well. So the company is MindWise, and the website is getmindwise.com. We've got it up now.
Discover how to optimize your mind.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And, you know, what we do is go into the workplace and teach employees at a very tangible level how to reduce the stress throughout their day, how to focus their mind to increase, optimize their productivity, and just improve overall work-life balance.
And it's easier than most folks think, right?
Definitely. Yeah. That's what's so beautiful about this, is that these are tools we actually all have already. Right. They're intuitive, and we just kind of forget they're there. Right. You know? Right. So, and that's because why? What happens in our mind? Yeah. We get caught up on
something else.
The things that are causing us the stress. The worry. And I want to say, you know, I posted what the show was about today, and we got a comment from Heather in Louisiana. She said, there are so many demands put on people today. I definitely feel stress in a physical way, which, as I said, the statistics are 77% of people say they feel stressed physically. Right. And she says, when the pressure's really on, I tend to forget to breathe. That's one of the tools that we have all the time to calm and soothe the nervous system. And she says, when that happens, it makes my chest really tight, and it makes me feel even more stressed. So it's a vicious cycle.
Oh no, that's the breathing is a huge deal.
It's huge.
It's a huge deal.
It's important to remember that stress begets stress. So it does you no good to stay in that mode. We're going to give you some tools to help you get out of that mode so that you can live a clearer, happier life. Don't go away. We'll be back with more mindful living. Cheers to your health.
Big time.
Never, 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 never,
In quiet markets, investors search for new trading opportunities. We'd like to introduce you to a new product that provides opportunities even in flat markets. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a new and innovative Chicago-based exchange registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their trading platform. Nadex never charges a fee to use their platform, which even includes real-time charts and full customization capability. Nadex's unique short-term binary options allow traders and investors to capitalize on strategies even when the underlying markets are quiet. Nadex's innovation has allowed them to come up with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com, or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
We're told to follow our passion and everything else will fall into place. I hope that's what each of you are doing each and every day. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Money Master Show at TFNN.com, and my passion for technical analysis is what led me to the most fundamental discovery in pattern recognition, the Rhodes Momentum Indicator, market scanner, and trading strategy, a set of tools that identify the momentum and power of the trend, the likes of which have never been seen before, for every market and every time frame. Yes, folks, the trend is your friend, unless you're on the other side. New to technical analysis? This is the place to start. And experienced traders take advantage of the trend like never before. Experience the power of the Rhodes Momentum Indicator each day, available to subscribers of my newsletter service, Mastering Probability. I guarantee your satisfaction for the next 30 days unconditionally, so there's no risk to you other than being on the wrong side of the trend. Mastering Probability, available on the homepage of TFNN.com. And folks, live with passion.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. What are you doing right now? Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, everybody. Tom and I are talking about stress, why Americans, 77% of Americans today are claiming they're feeling stress in their bodies, and what we can do about it. And, you know, just at the break, Tom and I were talking about that stress is actually toxic. So, you know, this is not a show meant to be a downer. It's meant to be a wake-up call. We want to band together and give you some tools. Number one, inspire you to look at your life and say, am I stressed? And how am I behaving? Am I in these sort of habitual patterns of behavior? And what can I do about it? You know, let's work together to sort of slow down and just breathe. And as you say, smell the roses.
And be here now.
Be here in this moment.
No, and I don't want to make this too simple, but it almost is.
Yeah.
In the context that if you think you're stressing out about something, and it's a perception, and then you think it's even going to get worse, well, it's going to get worse.
It is.
I mean, that's just kind of because that type of energy that we have, good or bad energy, you know, it affects you.
It does. And not only you, it affects everyone around you.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I was doing some research. I found this article that was just released in February this year, so not so long ago, that says the stress that we as adults are claiming is even affecting our children, which, I mean, that should be no surprise. But this study shows that especially teenagers, are saying that they are more stressed than ever. Out of 1,000 teens aged 13 to 17, over a quarter say they experience extreme stress during their school year. Now, I want to qualify that extreme stress was rated from 1 to 10. They had all these teenagers rate their stress. So a lot greater portion than just a quarter said they were stressed. But you're looking at extreme stress, 8 to 10 they rated the stress in their lives, which, you know, as a teenager, I'm not shocked, because any parents I know with teens will tell you it's a difficult
And they
time.
said that's during the school year. That's interesting.
That's during the school year, but they were also asked, you know, what's causing your stress? And they said they're actually feeling it in all areas of their lives, not just school, but also in their friendships. Some of them work, so from their work, their responsibility load, and in their family. So, and just like adults, they aren't always using healthy methods to cope.
Right.
So I think it's important to look at, you know, what are some of the signs of stress? How do we know if we're stressed? Because it's another thing we were talking about. Some people, you know, are running around in this ultra hyper sort of always go mode, fight or flight response. And we say this all the time. I liken it to your car. If you rev your engine every time you get in it, something's going to give out. So we need to take some time to slow down. So how do you know if you are stressed? What are some signs of stress that people see? And if you have comments about this, either send us a message in the chat room or call us at 877-927-6648. We want to hear what stress you're dealing with or what signs of stress you're seeing. So when we talk specifically about the teenagers, here's what some of them said. And, you know, as I read this, I thought, man, any adult could relate to this as well. But they say they have feelings of irritability, anger, nervousness or anxiety, even depression. So they can feel overwhelmed or sad.
Right.
Some of them actually have a change in behavior. So, and I know adults like this.
Oh,
you know, I've experienced myself where we neglect responsibilities.
Right.
You know, when you feel overwhelmed sometimes, it's hard to get your to-do list done.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, or maybe you just ignore it more, which only adds to the stress.
Right.
So you have a hard time managing your time. Maybe you see a change in your sleep habits or patterns, or become short or snap at others.
Yeah, right. There you go.
We can relate.
That did
I mean,
it.
we're both parents.
No, I know.
And then there, of course, as we said, there are the physical signs. Some people experience headaches, shortness of breath, as Heather said in her message to us, tightness in the chest or shoulders. Maybe you grind the jaw. You know, that can become a habit. Some people sleep and grind the jaw, or purse the lips or frown the brow, which can lead to more headaches.
Sure.
Or maybe you notice a change in your posture, shoulders around the ears, you know, tightness just in the upper body. So doesn't it make you just want to take a deep breath and let go? That's a fact. Let go.
And I guess a point to bring up, too, is that, you know, folks, we absolutely can understand when you're stressed, or stress in general. You lose your job, you know, someone passed away. There's a million things in life that you're absolutely going to get stressed at.
Yeah.
And that's normal. What we're talking about here is an aspect that we're worrying about things that you shouldn't be worrying about. Whether it's catching up with the Joneses, whether it's worrying about, you know, what am I going to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, you're doing something right now. What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do the next day? What difference does it make? You don't even know whether you're going to be around tomorrow.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, right. And it's so true that worry does not help.
Those seem to be some of the bigger things that would bring those numbers up.
Yeah.
You know, it's always like what ifs. The what ifs, you can get rid of the what ifs, folks. I mean, you know, I mean, I know it's not easy, but what ifs aren't where it's at.
Yeah. Well, and it's true that you said it's important to not deny what you're feeling.
Right.
You know, I think it's helpful, and we'll talk about that one of the methods of managing stress is to acknowledge how you're feeling without labeling it as good or bad. This is one of the lessons from mindfulness, is to observe it, become aware. And then when you're aware of it, suddenly you have the opportunity to step back and then decide how you're going to react, or better yet, respond to that stress. So I love Steve Rhodes. Steve, love you, and thank you so much for writing in. Steve has some very cool tips, and I mean, what a guy. To avoid stress, solve all problems on paper. You know, we talked about this in a previous show. We said journal, but I think it's very helpful to write things down, because if they could have been solved in your head, he says, you would have already had the solution. So Write it down.
Sure.
Be reflective. He says, just like what you said, stop worrying.
Right.
Worry never solves anything. It never moves you forward, and it is a waste of time.
Right.
So if you're worrying right now, folks, instead shift your attention to something you have in your life, something you can be grateful for at this moment, and stop worrying about what is uncertain, unknown, and not here right now.
Exactly.
It reminds
it's not real.
No. And you never know if it's going to turn out as you're worrying about it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I had this awesome teacher one time in my life who I went to her with a problem, and she said, Allie, she's from India, she said, can you control it? Is it in your control? And I said,
I know.
I said, no. She goes, then why worry?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Is it in your control? No. Then why worry?
And
Is it out of your control?
that's a big one, folks. Okay, and when you, and I guess there's a going along right with that one is that worrying about what other people are thinking or worrying about is insane.
It tends to lead to insanity.
Oh, that is insane. But let me tell you, we all do it. But I remember when I stopped doing it. I stopped doing it a long time ago. But I remember when the switch went off, I says, why was I ever worrying about what someone else is worrying about?
Yeah.
That makes no sense at all.
It doesn't.
You can have compassion. You can have all those things. But
Yes.
it's like, you don't even know what's in their heart.
That's right.
You
Compassion
don't
is
know,
key.
so it's pretty wild.
It is.
So we got to keep going with Steve, because this is so funny at the end, folks.
Hilarious. All right. Then he says number 3, so no worries, but number 3, master areas of your life. Dabblers are stressed, but masters know what to expect and know what to do. Doing what you know and knowing what to do are 2 different things. So become a master. Master the areas of your life. So I think that, I take that as to really focus as well. I think when we're too scattered, it aids the stress. And then number 4, if all else fails, drink good cold sake. So I'm going to say cheers to Steve Rhodes.
Totally. It's a beautiful thing.
Love you, Steve. Yeah, at the end of the day, don't worry. You did bring up this, what is causing people worries. And again, I think that it is important to acknowledge that life, it can be stressful. It's never just a bowl of roses. I mean, you have to kind of experience the hardships to appreciate the beauty sometimes. But here's the top 7 top causes of stress in the U.S.
Okay.
First one is job pressure.
Job pressure.
Just like you said.
Yeah.
Second one is money.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which you're helping with, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
Number 3, our health.
Health, no, for sure. You're not healthy, that'd be number 1, as soon as you're not healthy.
We can become very consumed
Right.
with that. And I'll say, it's important to use mindfulness techniques. If you are dealing with a health crisis, there are endless studies on how mindfulness techniques, learning how to calm and focus your mind, actually can help manage chronic pain, boost your immune system, and help your body heal itself. So I'm going to give you some of those tips again in the next segment of the show. 5th, poor nutrition. 4, I skipped. Relationships.
Right.
Huge source.
Oh, sure, right.
Potentially a huge source for many people.
Right.
And, you don't want to worry about those either. Just be compassionate, be kind.
Right.
And that's all you can do. Poor nutrition, media overload.
Yeah, that's
Huge.
easy. Right.
I just read a study recently that it shows people switch technology devices, I think it was 21 times every hour. So that's once every 3 minutes or so.
Do you know how many people are not getting any sleep? They're still worrying about that plane that's disappeared?
I know.
I've had people say to
but
me
for
that...
the family members, I understand that to help them have some...
I'm talking about people in the street that they were staying up to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning watching CNN.
Right, they got their iPad, their phone, their computer.
And it's the same reel that keeps going over and over again, folks, okay? Yeah. I mean, that's insane.
Media overload. I think about that with our children, because how many children, I think of any time I'm at a restaurant and to get the child to behave, we throw them the iPad or we throw them the phone, and just try to be, mindful of that, because it can actually cause a little bit of attention deficit challenge. Their studies show that. So we just need to be a little bit more interactive, I think, with each other. And then number 7, sleep deprivation can cause a lot of stress. When your body is not healthy.
I don't like when I don't sleep.
Things start to go downhill fast.
I like sleeping.
So what can we do about it? When you come back, we are going to share my top 5 tips, mindfulness techniques for improving your life, health and well-being and happiness, and fighting stress. So stay with us.
You take a hands-on approach to managing your investment strategy. You're always looking for the next trading opportunity to magnify your perspective. Direction Shares connects sophisticated traders with a powerful array of ETFs from a wide range of asset classes. The markets may go up and down, and you want tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors employing dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor, Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Who says you can't take it with you? TFNN says you can. With your mobile device and TFNN's live radio streams, TFNN has put it all in the palm of your hands. No special apps to download. No subscription fees for live radio or Tiger TV streams. We say you can.
Now let's go over to the dollar, because the dollar is going to be the generator. It is the generator of basically higher dollar, lower market. And what the dollar has done, and this whole uptrend, folks, has just gone sideways. The way it works, folks, is this.
We say you can. The Tiger Financial News Network. Smart investors and professional traders know you can. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, everybody. Tom and I are talking about stress and what we can do about it. And just before the break, we were talking about what are those, top situations in life that tend to cause stress, and
Right.
What are the signs in the body for some of us who don't even know if we are persisting in this type of behavior or state. How can we know? So hopefully you can tune in and just pay attention to your posture. Notice if your heart's racing a lot, pain in the chest. It's important that we address it. So it's also important that we choose healthy ways to deal with stress.
Right.
And, when you look at the health of America, we're having an obesity challenge. People sometimes are choosing not the healthiest methods to deal with stress.
Well, you know what I've noticed? It's not even the healthiest note. Most folks know that they're not even eating healthy, but they figure they don't have enough time.
Yeah. Which
is insane. Folks, because you only live so long. It's like, oh, really? You don't have enough time to, live?
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Exactly.
I just wanted to bring up one thing. We were talking last time, we were talking about how you should observe, and I got this off Allie, because I'm in Allie's yoga classes or in meditation class. I think it was it started in the yoga, but it did in the meditation, as to something's bothering you, something's in your head, and, look at it. And I just said to Allie, I said, well, yeah, it's bothering me, okay? And I'm looking at it, okay, but what's supposed to happen now?
Yeah.
Okay? And the reality is that facing it is like anything else. Do you know what I mean? Face it, okay. Because what does tend to happen then is that you realize that, okay, hold on, be here now.
That's right.
Whatever you're thinking, folks, okay, if you're thinking whether it's yesterday or tomorrow, well, it doesn't matter.
Right. Be here now. That's right. And part of being here now is observing what is right now. How am I feeling right now? And this is where it's important to, definitely just face, as you said, or acknowledge how you're feeling at the moment. And as mindfulness would say, try not to judge it as good or bad or define it as good or bad. So I'm going to read this definition of mindfulness directly from our website, getmindwise.com. It says, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the ability to pay attention on purpose in the present moment.
Right.
In the present moment.
Right.
Without judgment. So it's shifting from autopilot to seeing clearly whatever is happening in your life from a totally fresh perspective.
Right.
So let's say you have a feeling come up, and we talked about, maybe it's worry. Maybe you're worried about something, or, you're having an event that's causing sadness. You observe it and you say, oh, sadness is there. But typically what we do as human beings is we either push it away and avoid it, pretend it's not there, and which just causes pain later, right? Because we're avoiding or running away from. Or we do the exact opposite and attach to it, as you and I have been talking about, and our mind starts to race about it.
Not worrying about it.
Right.
You know what I've noticed that blows my mind, and you're going to love this, folks. When you are mindful, everyone looks different.
And everything looks different.
Yeah. I've known the exact same people for a long time. When I look at them, they look totally different. And it's always better.
Yeah.
It's always better. Isn't that crazy?
I get it, though. I get it. It's because you start to realize things are constantly changing. And I think that helps you accept things more and be less, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, have less of a sticky mind. The Buddhists say, that the human mind is so sticky, and that causes suffering because our mind races about things.
Wow.
And we get stuck.
Trapped like rats.
Yes. In that hamster wheel, just running as fast as we can, worrying, and breaking our bodies down. But if we can be mindful and present in the moment, we know things are changing. And so it gives you that space to accept things and be patient and know that, they'll change. They will change. So it's a very refreshing perspective on life.
Big time.
So, the practice of mindfulness is nothing new. It is still growing leaps and bounds here. And I think when it has to do with the nature of our society, everybody needs this tool. And it has something to offer everybody. So I think a lot of people, when they think of mindfulness practices, techniques, they go immediately to meditation. But for people who aren't interested in meditation or have tried it and just can't seem to get there are techniques and tools for you too.
Well, you know what's intriguing is that when I look at society, I think, go back a couple of generations, one generation, two generations. As a society, I think we're probably much smarter in many ways, right? Mm-hmm. Because the fact of the matter is, remember growing up, you had to listen to teachers and all this on a continual basis, and then the reality was that people were always asking questions. Mm-hmm. So some of this has to do really with like asking questions, and then people still are not happy. So it's like, okay, that's right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's one of those deals like, well, what is this? Where are we in the context of where we want to be?
Yeah.
And I think that's mindfulness. It's grabbing onto yourself, not worrying about, hey, what's Johnny Joe or Jimmy, the rest of the world doing?
True. I think, too, that mindfulness also helps us be okay or at peace in the unknown, not having to know all the time. Just that, again, that brings you back to being here. So let's talk about what are my 5 favorite techniques. Now, I say favorite because the reason there are so many different techniques offered in mindfulness is because everybody's a little different, But I think these specific techniques are tangible, they're doable, they're relatable by anybody. So my first one is focus your mind. And by that I mean our minds are so busy racing, as we said, about all the things we have to do.
Yes.
Or worrying about all the things that aren't right in our lives, that it actually exacerbates the stress. And we're so busy also multitasking, right? Our mind is so scattered that studies actually show we actually become more sensitive to distractions. We have more difficulty focusing, which actually makes us feel less productive and thus even more stressed. So we need to learn to focus our mind. And we have to find an easy, effective way for us to do that. Now, meditation is a beautiful practice for learning to focus the mind. It's a practice in concentration. There are so many benefits to this. But as I said, if meditation is something that you cannot get going, my favorite thing to use is the breath.
The breath, okay.
And you and I have talked about this so much. One of the tools we teach through MindWise is taking 7 rounds of controlled, deep breath. Now, 7 rounds because it's long enough to settle in, to be quiet and be still, and feel the effects of your breath. So if you're listening now and you want to try this on your own, you definitely should. You can even do this while driving. Just keep your eyes open. And you'll find that it makes you more present in the moment and much more alert and aware of not only what's happening inside you, but what's going on around you.
Yeah,
so,
'cause you feel your insides.
Oh, you do.
Which is good. Right.
So you want to sit up tall and just slowly breathe in and out, ideally through the nose, but if you can't breathe through your nose for some reason, breathe through the mouth, and just count to 4 as you slowly inhale and count to 4 as you slowly exhale. And do that for 7 rounds. You will feel the sensations of relaxation and release.
Yeah, you feel high.
In your chest.
Yeah.
And it clears your mind.
Right.
It clears your mind. So I suggest pausing 3 times a day to take this practice.
Cool.
7 rounds of deep breath. Ideally, if you don't have another practice, first thing when you wake up. Why? Because it allows you to start your day on the right foot. That is with a clear, calm, focused mind. And imagine starting your day that way rather than jumping out of bed, going straight to the computer and, oh my God, I've got to get to my to-do list and answer all these emails. It's stressful. So start your day with 7 rounds of deep breath and then find some time in the middle of the day. It's easiest for me to do it right before lunch.
Nice.
So then you're calming down and you actually, again, have a clear mind to go out and enjoy your lunch with your friends or go sit in the park and notice the blue sky and the green grass and the flowers, notice the things around you. And then finally, I would say do it one more time toward the end of the day, just before dinner or just before you leave your office.
Okay.
So then you leave whatever has caused you stress from the day on your desk, and you walk through that door to see your family refreshed and rejuvenated. Nice. Wouldn't that be lovely?
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Believe me. Rather than walk in and go, what a crappy day, right? And that happens. And that's, that energy that we're sharing with our loved ones. So that would be my first tip. And to me, it is so easy and tangible. You just have to make time to do it. You have to want to do it and make time to do it.
And that's easy.
Easy. Second one is developing self-awareness, now becoming aware. Now, that deep breath practice will help you do this.
Yes.
This one takes a little bit more time.
Okay.
But self-awareness helps us learn about what's causing us stress. What are those triggers in our life that are causing us to freak out? Our heart to race, our mind to race, our palms to sweat, our shoulders to tense, our teeth to grind, our forehead to frown, and our mind to worry. And again, take some quiet time to tune in. Now, meditation does this, that breath practice does this. But one of my favorite practices is, again, 3 is the magic number in my world. It's easy, it's doable, and it's not overwhelming. So tune into yourself 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, maybe while you're doing your breath practice, and notice your physical body.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
Tune in to your posture and notice what you're feeling. All right? Are you feeling tense? Is your breath shallow? Is your chest hurting? Are you grinding your teeth, frowning your brow? And practicing this awareness, then you can think, okay, what caused me to feel this way? Without judging it good or bad.
Yes.
And then you start to become aware of your conditioned patterns of behavior. How you sometimes go onto autopilot and react to things in a negative way without even realize you're doing it because it's so ingrained.
And in particular, if you're aware of it, you can get rid of it. Meaning that if it's a problem, folks, you can either pick up the phone, you can do 2 different things. You can be aware of it that way and say, okay, I know what it is, and or you can face it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Or choose how you're going to respond rather than
ignoring it,
run in or turn into that stress response.
Steve says worrying gets you never solves anything.
Nowhere. One of my favorite quotes is by Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl. And he said, quote, "Between stimulus and response, there's a space."
Yeah.
So between the stimulus and how we respond to it, there is a space. And in that space lies our power to choose.
Well, the space is a good scene.
That's right.
I like that space in between.
It's just that some of us totally fly through that space right into the stress response mode. So let's look at an example, for example. You're in the car driving, and a driver cuts you off. Okay? We can all relate to that one, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So usually we go right past that space, right into, I can't believe that guy did that. What is that person thinking?
Right.
Notice how I said guy? Sometimes it could be guy or girl. No aggression there. So you go, why did that person do this? And then the mind starts racing about it. I can't believe they would do that. How rude of them. How inconsiderate. I'm late. I'm going to be even later now, and the mind is racing. Then the physiological response comes in. We start to sweat, or
you're getting on that
body
trip.
changes.
You're getting on that trip, right?
And we grip the steering wheel, right? Next thing you know, either you're retaliating in some way, or you're just an angry driver yourself.
And you're not paying attention, something else happens, right?
Right. So I think we can all relate to that one. So as you practice this self-awareness, you start to realize, ooh, okay, wait a second, I'm feeling really angry right now.
Right.
And to label how you're feeling, to name it, can actually help it subside a little bit in that space, to sit with it for a moment. And then you can say, all right, maybe that person had an emergency. Maybe they're racing to the hospital, Maybe they've got a sick person in their car. Maybe they're late for work.
True.
So you start to change your thinking a little bit when you give yourself that first practice self-awareness and that space.
And the third one?
My third is relax and rejuvenate, baby.
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
I think
that's important. That's
so
really important.
I love that your shirt says St. Bart's.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about, people, right here.
Totally.
Do something that you love to do that makes you feel good every single day.
Right.
And this is part of the problem I think I'm seeing in the large majority of our society. We're working so much, we're stressed, we're running A to B, errands, things to do, meetings, etc. Take some time for a walk,
you have to.
Without your cell phone. Take a break from the technology and go enjoy nature. Or, take a long bath, call a dear friend and have a sweet conversation.
Right.
What is it that makes you feel good? Write in your journal. Read your favorite book, watch a comedy, something that makes you laugh.
And it is crucial.
Yeah.
And it's crucial, I think, to not only do it on a basis, whether it's daily, weekly, whatever you want, but it's crucial to, I love planning ahead a few things, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whether I'm going sailing, I always put something on the burner so that I know that the rest of it I'm grooving without even, it just makes it all worthwhile. Like, okay, I'm cranking it out, that's it. And then when I'm done, I'm done.
Yes.
I mean, Ray Kroc, I think I told you this before, the making of McDonald's, folks, okay? He was a genius at this, okay? He wrote this book when he made McDonald's, 100 pages, right? Mm-hmm. And inside that book, he was saying he wanted to build McDonald's. And it was one store, okay? And the way he was going to do it, he's going to stop his mind from thinking at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night or something. Because when he started that, he started at 55 years old or something.
Wow.
So he knew that in order to have that energy, he had to do it. But that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
That he knew that he was going for the longest, and he'd turned it off. He turned his head right off. That he knew that if he wanted to stay healthy, if he wanted to stay focused, he had to have a different part of the life, even at night. And he made McDonald's. Think about that for a second.
It's amazing. And actually studies show that if you are stressed and worried, it shrinks the prefrontal cortex of your brain. So what he was doing, which mindfulness techniques also teach, is letting your brain get restored and refreshed. And it actually proves that you increase the mass of the prefrontal cortex, which is that process center for ideas and thoughts. And it's
how cool was that?
Brilliant. Yeah.
And we all know how to relax.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone knows how to relax.
You know what? I love that you schedule your rest and relaxation. And if you have to do that, do it. Schedule it daily. Now is my time to go get my feet massaged, whatever.
To go to yoga.
Go to yoga.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Which leads me to point number 4, and that is to exercise and eat healthier. So as we said, if your health and wellness goes, if your body is feeling sick, your mind feels sick. It is all connected. And if you're not taking care of yourself, that's all you got. At the end of the day, that is what everything else is based on. So, studies show statistically you need 30 minutes a day. But if you only have 10 minutes, remember that something is better than nothing.
Right.
Something is better than nothing. And, get out for that 10-minute walk. I think we set ourselves up for failure if we don't make our 1-hour schedule workout class. Go for a quick jog. But get up and move. Dance in your office, close the door, do what you got to do. And as far as your eating goes, start with small changes. This is something, too, I think people can find overwhelming. We know if we're making healthy choices or not. Everybody knows that fruits and vegetables, holistic foods are, going to bring you vitality.
Yeah, stay away from the middle of the grocery stores.
Yeah.
That's the quickest way to cut to the chase,
Everything
right?
in a box and a bag, try to avoid as best as possible. I mean, once in a while, fine. I think it's all about percentages. But Make small changes.
Nico last week, we had Nico on last week. He said there's nothing in his kitchen because they don't have any boxes of bags. That was hilarious.
I found it inspiring.
Fact. No,
I know.
Yeah, I know.
That would be an anomaly in American society because most of us have rows of boxes of bags.
I still got boxes
and cans.
Yeah. Aunt Jemima pancake mixes in there.
I love pancakes. But it's something to work toward, reduce.
Sorry, Nico. No.
Hey, I appreciate it. No, you want to think about small changes. I think it was Dr. Brian Clement of the Hippocrates Institute said 20% a month, trying to make a change slowly.
And what's the fifth one?
The fifth one is simple. But again, you just got to make time for it, and that is to begin your day with gratitude.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a big one.
That is huge.
That's a big one.
I think there is a cellular shift in our complete makeup when we move from focusing on that which we do not have to that which we have.
That's a fact. Yeah, I love that word. Gratitude's a great word. It is absolutely a great word.
It is.
Yeah. And we're all so lucky.
We are.
Folks, you could have been born in the middle of, think about it. I really think about it a lot. Because what I can't understand is that how did we get born here and all these other poor people get born somewhere else? And it's terrible. It's like, how does this work? And we don't know how it works. But it's like, really?
Yeah.
So, gratitude is a huge deal.
Write it down. I think, and, tell the people you love you're grateful for them.
Oh, big time.
I think that the more you can practice gratitude, the more humbled we'll be and connected to not only each other, but the earth and to, whatever higher power you believe in, whether it's all of humanity and the greater good of humanity, the Mother Earth or the Holy Mother herself, whatever that divine entity in your life is, I think gratitude helps you get there.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Because it keeps it in the front burner.
It does.
It keeps
it reminds you. It's a good reminder. So that's nothing new, but we just have to make time to do it,
Right.
So I would say for anybody interested, we have a lot of tools on our website.
GetMindWise.com.
GetMindWise.com.
That's a great name.
Thank you. I love it too. I love it. And you can follow us on Twitter at GetMindWise. Yeah. And we post very helpful tips and tools. Things like slow down when you're driving today and be present. Notice. Do something that you do mechanically every day in a new, fresh way with beginner's eyes. So if you take that same route to work every day, open your eyes and notice the buildings you're passing. Notice the drivers who are passing you.
Right.
It's different every day, people.
Yeah,
it's fascinating, just like you said.
It is fascinating.
When you practice mindfulness, life gets a lot more interesting.
Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved.
I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tom. I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you.
And I'm grateful to all of our listeners. Thank you for tuning in to Mindful Living. And you can tweet me at Allie Ford Yoga or hit us up at TFNN, Allie at TFNN, and join the conversation. Until then, be healthy, be well. See you next week. Namaste.
Namaste, folks. Have a great one.